If you look around in the right places, you can find some really unique sights in Maine. We have visited a number of these places in search of something fascinating. Today, we travel down to the town of York to visit an unusual gravesite, one that stands out even in the historical graveyard it occupies. Episode 13, York Witch, York, Maine. The town of York is one of the oldest in Maine. It was settled all the way back in 1630 and incorporated as a town in 1652, a wonderful area with a fantastic beach and ocean view. For a time, it was considered the unofficial capital of the province before Maine was its own state. Its harbors were a major spot for traders to move their goods across the ocean. Over time, when railroads became popular, it found new life as a vacation spot for tourists. The village of York, Maine has a number of museums about the early days of the area, including an old cemetery with graves from some of the earliest settlers. Let's talk about one that tends to stand out from the rest. Hello, welcome back to Stranger Maine. Today I come to you from the town of York. I'm in the old parish cemetery to talk to you about this grave. Well, not exactly the grave, but the person whose grave it belongs to. This is Mary Nason. Mary Nason was a well-known healer, mother, midwife during her lifetime, but was also regarded, in some capacities at least, as a white witch. Now, what is a white witch, you might ask? It's someone who has the capacity to use magic, but uses it for good. It's the light, if you will, the white or the light witch. But her grave itself is kind of interesting because of the way it's situated. So let me tell you more about her story. Most people think about Salem when it comes to witchcraft, but Maine has some of its own stories. Early on in York's history is the tale of Mary Nason. Regarded by locals as a well-versed healer and midwife, she accomplished a lot of good in her lifetime. That alone should keep her story alive, but rumors persisted that she was so good with healing because she could communicate with spirits, and they provided her with knowledge of magic that could heal others. This gained her a reputation as a white witch. Any powers she was supposed to have were not strong enough, though, as she passed away at the age of 29 in 1774. Her husband commissioned a fitting headstone for her, and her grave was covered with a stone slab. Stories arose that the slab was to keep her from using magic in the afterlife to return to the land of the living. Some claim that the stone is unusually warm when you touch it. Reports have also been made that her spirit roams about the burying ground. There had been a playground that used to be across the street from the graveyard, and there are some who said that her spirit would play with the children who would visit, pushing them on the swings and slides, keeping them company. This is, after all, the story of a young mother trying to do good things for others. So that's the story of Mary Nason. Was she actually a user of magic and a white witch who helped heal others through whatever means she had? I don't know. I wasn't there. But regardless, even if she was, the idea that someone would use their powers for good has always been very appealing to me. Now, the stone slab on her grave isn't really there to keep her from rising up to use her powers for terrible things. A lot of graves actually had that slab on top of them during those times, but not for the reason you'd think. They weren't trying to keep them from rising up as vampires or zombies or what have you. The real reason is actually kind of worse. The real reason is because these freshly dug graves were often ransacked by things like wild animals. And there'd be nothing worse than coming out of church on Sunday to see some sort of large creature digging a hole and defiling the body of your loved one. So there was a good purpose behind those. Over time, most of these graves that had them, the stones were repurposed for other things, but maybe Mary's story is why it stayed put. But either way, it makes her site unique. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.